Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Dentsply Sirona World News. I'm your host, Cassandra Costa, and I think what we have next is probably the most anticipated panel of the day.
Whoa.
We have a huge audience over here watching us. I'm very excited about it.
They're eating their food, actually.
Yeah, well, that's because you guys are such an awesome panel.
We'll be here all weekend.
We have here, all the way on the end, Dr. Tarun Agarwal. Then we have Dr. Erin Elliott, Dr. Ryan O'Neill, and Dr. Richard Sullivan. And we are here to talk about sleep apnea, which I know is a really big topic right now. So I'm going to...
Oh, Cassandra, you're going to start me?
I'm going to start
These guys are never going to get to talk.
They'll just cut you out.
We'll make room for Erin. Are you kidding me? So what are we going to talk about, Cassandra?
Let's talk about how efficient the digital workflow is with CCAT Air.
You know, I think ultimately what I would like to point out is that what we're looking at now is being able to digitally fabricate our appliances. And ultimately, if you look at it, the 4-step process, awareness, diagnosis, doing the insurance, and then getting the treatment, what the digital workflow has created for us is a safe and easy way to be able to produce appliances. But here's what I've really noticed. I think one of the bad raps that sleep appliances get is TMD and orthodontic issues. And I think the TMD issues comes from not looking at the joint. And one of the benefits of using a cone beam-based treatment philosophy is the ability to evaluate the joints. The other thing that I've seen is in some of the cases that we're doing, I think a lot of the orthodontic changes are coming from the quality of our impressions and the quality of the fit of the appliances. So when we're able to take our digital CEREC data and merge it on top of our cone beam, we're able to actually see if there's any discrepancies between our impression and our actual patient and prevent some of those orthodontic changes from happening.
That's great. How has this affected your practice, Dr. Elliott?
If anything, the biggest thing that it's done is create an awareness, not just amongst my patients, but my team. All of a sudden, they're looking at patients in a different way. Even though they're trained, we've been talking to our patients for years. Being able to start that conversation with a patient with their airway up on the screen has been a tremendous benefit to our practice.
I think it adds energy, When you bring something in like this that's totally different than what you're used to doing in the dental world, and you see the effects that it has people systemically and how they start having their lives changed by it, it really makes such a difference in just how we go about what we do, ultimately.
I want to build on that for a second because, how many times have we gone to, listen, we all suffer from this. How many times have we gone to a seminar and we're excited, our team's semi-excited about something new, and then it kind of wanes down. And I think the big difference here is your team gets the stories, they get the follow-up, they get the patient saying, oh my God, you changed my life, oh my God, like your own dad forgot, for goodness sakes, right? And see what happens, your team sees that, you see that, and it keeps that momentum going that many other procedures don't have.
Well, you're talking about patients that have had their lives changed after the appliance, but getting them to that point is the key in creating that urgency, like you say. And being able to connect, instead of just telling your patients, all of a sudden they're in a co-diagnosis mode with you, and connecting those dots is what I think finally moves them forward.
Hey, Ryan, as a young dentist, how are you seeing this? Because most typically young dentists are looking at, fillings, crowns, basic procedures. As a young dentist, what makes you invest in this technology and do this procedure?
Yeah, I've never had a patient refer another patient to me saying that was the best class 2 I've ever had.
Okay.
Never. Every appliance that I do, 1 out of every 2, I'm getting another referral in the practice because I saved their life. Some of them say I saved their marriage. They weren't sleeping in the same bedroom.
True. Yeah.
And the husband, they're just happy. So I would say from a practice builder, just being able to deliver something that's truly life-changing versus kind of the drill and fill
what
mentality.
Made you get into it again, the young dentist?
My wife says, you snore. It's a similar story. It's like, hey, you snore, you need to get tested. So I got tested and started to open up to the idea of, and even me, I was skeptical of, I have a narrow airway and I'm picturing what does that look like? So to be able to visualize it to a patient and show them, look, this is bad when you're awake and upright. Imagine when you're on your back asleep. And so for me, I was kind of a personal testimony before I even purchased the cone beam.
And to me, that's the beauty of this, right? Is that, again, people say, well, we can't diagnose. Of course we can't as dentists, we can't diagnose to begin with, right? And then cone beam can't diagnose, but when you put a visualization on the screen for your patient, whether it's green, orange, blue, whatever color it is, when you have that conversation with them, it suddenly clicks.
Right.
You know, it makes sense when somebody sees that, and then it allows you to go to the next step and make that connection to the patient and really have a deeper conversation. Your patients stop thinking you're selling something.
Exactly.
They start thinking you as a patient advocate, and that's really what we've seen, and what our team has seen is this has been one of the easiest things for them to talk about to patients because they don't feel like they're selling anything. They're just showing the patient what's going on, and they're talking about how we can help your life, and they have other patient stories to give them. It's been an unbelievable part of
You
our
have your own story to give them.
Yeah. And even our physicians, I mean, in terms of building rapport with physicians, when you show them this technology is available and that you're using it in your practice, it takes you from just someone who, as one physician in our area says, fiddling around with appliances to you're serious about it. You've dedicated an entire part of your practice to it.
Yeah.
And I think you talked about the joints. We're talking about the volumetric view of the airway. One of the most important factors for me is actually looking at nasal obstructions, because nasal breathing, there's a reason God made this, and being able to communicate that with patients that, you know, you may have another step here to be fully treated or to get the best benefit. And I never had that before. I'd have them breathe through their nose. Oh.
You know, I think, you know, ultimately one of the raps that sleep apnea gets sometimes is not effective. And the truth is sometimes it's not that the appliance isn't effective, sometimes it's the appliance isn't the right solution. You know, being able to use cone beam, a digital workflow, allows you to take a holistic view of your patient, the nasal, the turbinates, the sinuses, the oropharynx, all those things, and make a decision on what is the best route for your patient.
I think, too, it streamlines the process, because for a lot of people getting into sleep apnea, sometimes the stumbling block is, well, what appliance do I use?
Yeah.
How do I do it?
Least important question, by the way.
Exactly, right? But that's what I'm saying. And so what's nice about the way that CCAT Air and cone beam and CIRAC all integrate together is it kind of makes that workflow happen. It kind of happens automatically, because when you start doing them and making the appliance, it's just that A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D, and then you have an appliance. And so it really does streamline that and I think it knocks down the fear a little bit of that, which is a hurdle for a lot of
Because
dentists.
one thing that is not streamlined is medicine.
Yeah, fact, gosh.
Yeah, and the other thing on this, and then we'll let Cassandra actually ask
You have more
questions
questions?
again.
We're
going to keep going with
hey,
it.
keep going. Don't need me.
I think the biggest thing I've seen is this has given my team members a why in the practice. It's one thing that they can own, that they can follow up with patients, and to me that's the big thing. You know, the number one thing I hear when talking to dentists is their biggest struggle is the team members, how to motivate them, how to keep them, how to recruit good people. And I think part of the problem is we don't give them anything exciting to do. Yeah. And to me, when you can give them something that they can own and they can take and build, I mean, it's their baby, right? They can build it from something very small in your practice to something that can be very big in your practice.
You're unlike a lot of dentists, though, that actually relinquish control.
That
which
is
something we
but
need
that's
to
not
do.
true. Listen, I haven't always been that way, and what happens and to me, this is the big point of the workflow. It's intuitive. See what happens. The relinquishing of the control happens somewhat by mistake. One day you're running behind, you're not doing a hygiene check, you're doing this,
you scan 'em.
and the next thing you know, I walk in and the assistant's already done. She's like, I don't need you.
Oh,
And
your poor.
No,
yeah.
that's the best thing that happens. Are you kidding me?
Well,
Your poor ego.
And that starts to move into, like, when you start to look at the financial ramifications of it from a practice standpoint of how, you know, this can be something, you know, when people want to build a practice or bring an associate, they often think what you got to do is you got to add patients, right? You got to increase the patients that are coming to practice to do more stuff. Well, now all of a sudden you're pulling from your entire, I mean, if we're saying, you know, 40%, 35% of people have sleep apnea, and you just start, I mean, you love to do that. You take, okay, well, how many patients? You see 40 patients in a day,
right.
And so that means that 10 people probably have sleep apnea, and if you can convert, you know,
one
of those, okay, a day, so then one a day, you start doing the math out, and that's majority of it is a delegatable procedure. It's like,
Within your own practice.
Light bulb, and
Yeah.
you're not even having to do stuff. I mean,
So what happened
that's
to
a
your
no-brainer.
guys' practice? So you joined your dad.
Correct.
So how has sleep kind of helped up? Because ultimately, one of the things I'm after right now is I don't think general dentists, private practitioners hire enough associate dentists.
Totally
And,
agree.
and because we're afraid that we don't have enough business to keep them busy, right? And the truth is they're right in a certain degree. We don't have so many fillings and crowns that we can do. But if we can add ancillary services on different items to our service fold, and I think that's kind of what's happened in your practice.
Exactly that. So when I came in, and I came in 2 years ago, when the first things we did was we ended up buying cone beam because we knew that like if we're gonna take the next step in our practice and we want to do implants, we want to do more sleep apnea, we want to do more molar endo, we want to do all these things, we need to have something in that we can help make that happen and make that easier from just a technical standpoint to a patient awareness standpoint to make it happen. And so by doing that and adding those procedures, our practice all of a sudden was just like, it was like lighting a match to it.
But you didn't have to market for any of that, did you?
No, because we didn't add patients,
See,
right?
that's what I can't get people to understand. They're
Like,
like, oh my God, it's one more thing, now I'm gonna have to market. I'm like, no, these patients are in your practice. And what's more important is, these are the patients that love you and trust you and have been your patients for so many years, and it solidifies relationships. Not just, I'm talking about for you with patients. It's unbelievable.
I think that is a great finishing statement. I love
So
the
in other words,
passion
we talk
in you
too much.
guys. I love the passion. I love the way that you care so much and that you are talking and telling your story.
It's fun.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. We'll be back more in just a few more minutes with some more Dentsply Sirona World News. Thank you.